I want to talk to you about Cyanotype, which is a very, very old photographic process. It's one of the earliest photographic processes. A lot of times it's known as a sunprint or blueprints. In fact, if you've ever heard the term blueprints for architecture, they were made with cyanotype. Cyanotypes are a printing process where you have a chemical that you coat on some kind of substrate, could be paper, could be fabric. You place it out in the sun with an object or a negative on top of it. You leave it for about 5 to 6 minutes. Whatever is blocked by your negative or your object will print out as white, and whatever the sun hits will be solidified as blue. So after that 5-6 minute period of being exposed to the sun, you wash it in water, and the greenish cast of the chemical goes away, and you're left with your final cyanotype print. There's more than one way to get the cyanotype on a substrate. You can just straight up purchase a sunprint kit from Amazon, or you can buy a fabric that is pre-soaked with cyanotype chemical from a company called Blueprints on Fabric. I prefer to use this particular chemical kit. It is from Photographer's Formulary, and it's called the New Cyanotype Kit. I have 2 bottles because there's a solution A and a solution B. And essentially, you take a capful of each one, you mix it on, say, a paper plate. You have to do this in a darkened environment, no sunlight allowed, because that's what fixes the chemical. When you have your mixture, you can use a soft foam brush and coat paper or fabric. I prefer to use printmaking paper because it's of a fine quality and it absorbs the chemical really well. But you can use something like Bristol. I would only encourage you to use something that's heavy and absorbent, because if you put this on, say, notebook paper, when you do your final wash, it's just gonna fall apart. Anything that's thin is gonna be in pieces and you won't have a print. If you have a black and white image on your tape transfer, you can use that as a negative to make your cyanotype print. And generally negatives mean that the light and dark areas are inverted, but the important thing is that it is a black and white print, because if you have something that has color imagery, the sun will penetrate straight through that and you won't have a print at all. If you have something that's black and white, the black areas of your negative or your tape transfer will absorb the sunlight, and that will read as white on your final print. So I'm going to do a cyanotype using an image that is a positive, and you're going to see that the final cyanotype, after 6 minutes exposure in the hot Arizona sun, comes out as a negative. And I'm really familiar with film photography. When I went to college, we worked with negatives all the time, but there are a lot of people in the modern era who don't even know what a negative is because they've only worked with digital stuff. So if you want to invert your image before you run it off on a copy machine, you can utilize Photoshop, Adjustments, Invert, and convert to black and white, or you can use the Photoshop app on your phone. This also has an invert mode. You don't necessarily have to convert the image to black and white in the computer. If you are just running off on a black and white copy machine, it's going to be black and white already. If you're running off on a color copy machine, make sure that you switch the setting to black and white. What's fun about this technique is that utilizing simple packing tape, a copy machine, and this chemical, you can make some really one-of-a-kind pieces. And much like my other image transfer techniques, sometimes I'm dissatisfied if it only comes out as one color. My Xerox transfers that I use with acetone, I like to add a little bit of colored pencil or watercolor too. The Cyanotype is no different. I like to add colored pencil, flourishes, because I feel like it helps enhance the detail. It also pushes something that is kind of like a bland photographic image in more artistic territory. It feels a lot more one-of-a-kind when I add colored pencil to it. I've also been picking up these specific colored pencils that have 4 colors in them. So as you're doing your hand coloring flourishes, it's going to have this transition that looks really lovely in the final product. This is a particular way that I like to finalize my mixed media pieces. Everybody has their own favorite technique to use, so by all means, experiment, try what works best for you. There are other chemicals out there that people utilize when doing this sort of vintage hand-printed technique, but none are as easy as cyanotype. Van Dyke is not something that you can stick in the sun. You have to utilize a photographic enlarger if you're going to use the Van Dyke process. Cyanotype is slow. Like I said, it's about 5-6 minutes out in the sun. It can be washed in water, so you don't have to buy any extra photographic chemicals. And once that green cast is gone off your image, it just needs to dry and it is permanently fixed.
Thanks for watching. Subscribe for more creative tutorials, gear reviews and video art. Also check out our Patreon for weekly bonus videos and model photography sets.